I've been reviewing smartphones on the Mr. Phone channel for a while now, but mostly when we have smartphones on the channel, it's generally a simple process that we follow. But there are times when we do get some products that are unique or different in some way, and I like that a lot. This is one of those. This is the Redmi Go. It's a bare bones product from Xiaomi that's priced at 4,500. This is an entry-level smartphone in every way possible for the Indian consumer. And today in this video, I'm going to give you a full review of this. So without any further ado, let's jump right in. Subscribe to the Mr. Phone channel if you haven't already, and also hit the bell icon right next to it because we have a lot of new videos coming up and you might want to catch up. Now, we generally divide our reviews into 6 sections, 6 neatly organized sections, which includes design, display, software, performance, camera, and battery life. That is how we generally review a product. This one is slightly different because it is an entry-level smartphone. It is among the cheapest Android smartphones available, and it would be an injustice to run all the intensive tests on this like I generally do for a lot of reviews. So this is going to be slightly different, so bear with me. Now, I began by taking my SIMs out of my daily phone and putting it inside the Redmi Go. Both my SIMs support 4G VoLTE, and getting that in check, I started my day with a full charge on it. Now, the first thing that came to my mind as I started using this was just how compact this phone is. It's been a long time, phones have been getting bigger, and even with shrinking bezels and bezel-less displays, it's pretty much the same, and it's very refreshing to have a phone that I can very comfortably hold. And earlier, when I used to worry about my phones dropping out of my hand, I used to think it was because of the materials or how smooth it was, but not really. I am pretty sure that any material on this would not have made me feel unsafe because this is a very compact phone to hold, so I can really be worry-free when I do that. I can't even begin to explain the feeling that this one gives me. It's just ridiculous how many phones I've broken. Big glass displays, curved backs that are inspiring complex hand positions that could pave the way for a whole branch of yoga. This one doesn't do that. Now, I have the black edition and it looks basic. The buttons are clicky and basic. The port situation is basic, and with a single camera at the back and the front each, it's as basic as it gets. But that said, I think this is a very sturdy package. That said, there is one thing though that I have very strong feelings about that I thought should have been there on the Redmi Go, and that is the backlighting on the capacitive keys. This one doesn't use gestures as much. There is one gesture for Google Assistant, but apart from that, there are no more gestures on this phone, and you navigate through the 3 capacitive buttons that we used to see in earlier phones. That is actually quite good here, and there is also haptic feedback on this that a lot of other phones lack. But the fact that this is not backlit is a slight problem because when I'm at home, when the lights are not on, we still know which key is where, but in the dark, it would have been better to have some backlighting to the capacitive keys. But all that said, I think the Redmi Go is a very sturdy package, is a very complete looking package. Even though all of these things are very basic, I think for a price of 4,500, this is a very, very reliable smartphone. Now we move on to the display. Here I have a clear favorite because the screen on the Redmi Go is better than most phones at this price. Other phones that are available are Nokia One, which is a screen that's worth WhatsApp videos at best, and the others are no better. The Redmi Go actually has a 720p display with above average brightness levels. The brightness looks something like this in bright sunlight, and this is not bad at all. There are no color shifts either, which is actually a staple in smartphone displays at this price range. And no, it doesn't support wideband L1. I'm sure you want to know that. Now let's move to software, which is the most important part of this smartphone. So important that it's a part of the name. Android Go is Google's Redmi Go. Now, that might sound a little confusing, but I can assure you it's not. Android Go is Google's contender for the initial taste of their software. They look at it as the software that helps people to make the transition into something much smarter. Android Go software is a stripped down version of standard Android that we all enjoy and love, rather than something that's built up from the bottom, and I'm quite fine with that. First things to go out the window were fluid transition, but that seems like a very logical step. Most of stock Android is still pretty lean if you ask me, and it could easily run on this as well. The capacitive buttons put any and all possibilities of gestures out of the picture. Now, while this is Android Go from Google, Xiaomi does have a light launcher on top called Mint. This is a very lightweight launcher and I have to say that it fits quite well. The launcher also does have some neat tricks. A long press on the home screen reveals standard settings, but the app drawer hides a few other options. Tapping on the top right settings icon lets you customize the way your phone looks a little bit. The first thing is to help change icon packs, and it's really convenient because as you get inside and click on add more, it directs you straight to the Google Play Store search for icon packs. You can also play with the icon sizes and grid size, and I think it's a great option and was important to be baked in. People who buy these phones might not be tech savvy people at all. You might buy it for your grandfather, you might buy it for some children, or there might be people who've never used a smartphone before and might want to use this. Now, what the customization option gives them is not to make their phone look beautiful, but it's more to do with the utility. A lot of old people who are not able to see the things clearly can easily increase the size of these icons and can have a convenient user experience. You can also turn on app grouping, which groups these apps automatically into different categories and makes it easier to find them. Inside the settings page, things are much more familiar. There's no biometric unlock, and even inside the smart lock option, there is no face unlock. You have to use the standard pattern or passcode lock. It comes with Android 8.1 Oreo with the Android Go edition, of course. Now, we've talked a lot about Android Go and this should be it. This should generally be the end of it, but there is a little more to it. Google realized that today's Android applications, including many of their own, were too heavy for less powerful phones to run. Apps needed to be lighter too for people to be able to use it well. This is why Google built Lite or Go versions of some of their apps, including Google Go, Maps Go, Gmail Go, YouTube Go, and even Google Assistant Go. All of them work exactly as advertised. Google Go gives a light version of the Google feed on left. Google Maps Go gives you a simpler edition while still providing all the modes from walking to bus to metro and train routes. YouTube Go is something I found very interesting and practical. Here, unlike the standard app, when you tap on a video, rather than taking you to watch the video, it gives you the option to either play or download the video in 3 different qualities or 3 different sizes. This makes perfect sense because according to reports, there are still a lot of people on 2G, and while Reliance Jio brought the numbers significantly down, it's still going to take until 2022 for 2G users to be eradicated from the face of India. If you've ever used slow internet before, you know how painful it is to watch anything with more buffers than there are views on that video. Downloading them gives us an option to later watch it without any breaks or any obstructions. One other smart thing is that while you get to that screen where it gives you an option to play or download the video, the app also tells you how much space you've left on your phone. That's not all. There is also a new interesting option at the top. Tapping this actually lets you share your videos with your friends by making a hotspot. I think there are some more factors to it, but basically you do have the option to share the videos, and probably if you're using another phone that has Android Go and slow internet, you can clearly share videos through one YouTube Go app to another. You also get a few Xiaomi apps preloaded, but it's mostly useful apps, and also you get Amazon preloaded, which means there is basically no absolutely useless apps pre-installed on the phone. Now, talking about performance, first let's take a look at the Antutu scores. You really thought I was going to run Antutu on this thing. Good. Talking about performance, the Redmi Go carries a Snapdragon 425 inside with 1 GB RAM. In my usage, I had very less problems with it. Now, if I followed my general process and stuffed the phone with 75 apps, most of which I would hardly use, then this would have been a nightmare to use. Firstly, because these apps are built to be run on powerful smartphones, and secondly, because they would clog up the storage, leaving the phone no breathing space. Now, while I used the phone, I had a very pleasant experience. I left my other phone at home and I only used this. And apart from a few lags here and there, I was able to use this phone without any problems. As I said, I don't play games at all, which is why I didn't have any of them installed. That said, if you want to know, PUBG can be installed on this thing. There were a few Android Go phones where PUBG wasn't able to install completely. Here I tried that because Varun asked me to, and PUBG is completely installed here. But for performance, I think the Redmi Go with the Snapdragon 425 is among the most powerful phones that you will get at a 4,500 rupee price. Now, coming to camera, the Redmi Go comes with a single 8 megapixel camera at the back and a 5 megapixel camera at the front. I'm not going to go very much in detail into the specs or anything because it's not of the most essence here. I myself did not expect these to do much. I just walked around taking a few pictures to see what they could do, and from what I found, these are sufficiently good cameras. Xiaomi has truly applied their software knowledge to the post-processing of these pictures. The camera app is clearly better than any phone at this price. I think that matters more than the hardware here because it's anyway the most basic hardware that you'd get at this price anyway. It's going to be the software that makes the difference, and that it does. The app gives you a ton of features, including scenes that you can choose between, and they do come in handy at a lot of times. You also get a night scene that you can use. It's not night mode, but it's still a night scene that you get inside the camera app. You also get auto HDR in a phone that costs 4,499, and that is insane if you ask me. Now here are some pictures that I took using this phone, and I have to say that I am impressed. There are certainly not too many details if you zoom in, but look at some of these pictures. It shoots up to 1080p at 30 fps. There's no stabilization whatsoever. Also, I went ahead and took videos using both the front and the back camera, and please take a look at that and let me know what you think of the video and the audio quality in the comment section below. For me, I think the video quality and the audio quality as well are both better than I expected. Of course, there's no stabilization and I did not expect stabilization, but the way that the exposure has been controlled, for example in this front camera footage, when I turn back, when the light is against me, still the exposure has been controlled pretty damn well. Hey, this is Sreehari from Mr. Phone, and today we're testing out the Redmi Go, and I'm actually shooting this right now using the front camera of the Redmi Go, which is a 5 megapixel sensor. And you can see as I turn around like this, the light on my face is slightly gone, but I don't think it's that bad. It's quite alright. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn the back camera on, and I am actually at a tomb right now. You can see that in my background. We are at the Birandi Gumbad. And let's just walk up the stairs. I'm pretty sure there's not going to be any stabilization whatsoever, but why not just try? I think it's not closed. Let's go inside. Well, that is a sight to bear. Here is the Birandi Gumbad, and it's actually quite scary when there's no one here, but this is what it looks like, and this is how I look like when I walk around like this. There is beautiful painting on top that I don't think you can see, but this also lets you see what the camera looks like in low light. From my first impressions, initial impressions, my voice might also be resonating a bit inside this because hello, I think you can see that. But from my first impressions, what I think is that for a 4,500 rupee phone, the camera quality actually looks pretty damn good. Here is how the exposure is being handled. Oh my god, there are more ways to go up here. For a phone like Redmi Go, battery life is easily one of the most important things, and this one comes with a 3000 mAh battery. Now, comparing this to more expensive phones, this battery size does not sound exceptionally good. It's quite average. That said, this is a bare minimum Android setup with a relatively smaller 720p display, Snapdragon 425 and Android Go, all of which are meant to improve the battery life. In my personal usage, I never found the battery to be a problem. I've used it as my own lead device, and I did not have a problem. I ran a full day without having to recharge this. Now I have to say that when I went out with this phone, I was very conservative and I did not have a lot of essential apps that I used on a daily basis installed on it, which meant that I was doing that on the go, and I was installing a lot of these apps outside on 4G network, and even after all that, I still did not have my battery die on me. Now, would a bigger battery have been better? Of course it would have. I don't think people care a lot about thin phones at this price, and an extra 1000 mAh, which would have made it 4000 mAh in total, would have made it a 2-day phone, even with slightly more powerful use. Now, that is an argument we can have because it still does give me more than a day. What did end up being a problem was the 5-watt charging. Now this is where I felt the most restricted. All other things were bearable when I moved from my other phone, but this one was just frustrating. It took more than 3 hours to get from 0 to 100. I wish this would have been faster. That said, I do have some experience here because my iPhone XS Max, also with a little over 3000 mAh, takes about the same time to charge with the standard charger. Now, before I tell you my final thoughts on this phone, for the purposes of this review, of course, I actually went around a few stores in different parts of Delhi to just know what I could get for 5,000 rupees. Now, the one thing that was the most common in all these stores was the Nokia One. Now, that is not a phone that I'd consider a big competition to this because the Redmi Go is actually better in most ways from the Nokia One. It's selling for about the same price online and offline as well. Now, there were a few other phones available, like there was a Mobistar phone available. But from all the research that I did online, there were two phones that stand out at this price. Both are from the same parent company. One is the Xolo Era 4X and the other one is the Lava Z61. Now, both these phones actually carry very similar specifications, and if I show the pictures of both these phones on screen right now, you'll realize how it's just the brand name that's different. Both these phones look very similar. Both the Lava and the Xolo phone come with 2GB RAM options, and they also come with 16GB storage inside, even with the 1GB RAM unit. But the Xolo Era 4X is actually going for very similar price as the Redmi Go, so I think that is the real competitor for the Redmi Go. And comparing between them, I think if we go from all these sections, I think with design, both these phones are going to be pretty similar. When it comes to display, the Era 4X has a taller 18:9 aspect ratio display, but at the same time, I think the Redmi Go's display quality is something that's going to be difficult to beat. When we come to software, both of them run Android Go. When it comes to performance, you talk about the Era 4X, you get more RAM on it, you get more storage on it, but the processor that you get inside the Redmi Go is a slightly better one. When it comes to camera, I don't think that the Era 4X will be as good as the Redmi Go. And battery life, both of them carry 3000 mAh batteries, and I don't think the battery life should be very different. Now for this one, I think the Redmi Go is a well-rounded device. And if you want a very good value for money phone, which has a good processor, a great display, good battery life, and more than all, the best camera experience that you can get for this price, I think the Redmi Go is the device to go for. I guess that's it for this one. Please let me know if there's any feedback in the comment section below, but with that, I leave you to it. Thank you so much for watching. This is Sreehari from Mr. Phone, and I'll catch you in the next one.